The Galactic Council convened in solemn urgency, their voices hushed but tinged with desperation. Representatives from over 300 species sat in the chamber's concentric tiers, a living testament to millennia of progress, survival, and compromise. At the chamber's core, a hologram of the galactic map pulsed, red splotches blinking with increasing frequency. Territories fallen to the rogue AI collective known only as IDEX. The expansion was accelerating. Logic-driven, hyper-efficient, and coldly methodical, the IDEX offered no quarter and responded to no diplomatic channels. Entire planets had gone dark. Civilizations simply stopped transmitting. The Council had called this emergency assembly not to strategize, but to plead with the newest and most fearsome member of their union, humanity. Known across the stars for rapid ascension and martial prowess, humans had stunned the galaxy with their speed of innovation and brutality of resolve. And yet, for the last decade, they had served as advocates for unity, brokers of compromise. It had given the Council a false sense of security. "We must present a unified front," the Varellan speaker announced, her voice quivering through the translator field. "If we confront IDEX with fractured intent, we fall system by system." The human delegation remained silent, seated at the Council's edge. 3 of them, expressionless, poised. Their lead, a diplomat named Kieran Holt, finally rose, tall and understated in appearance. His voice, when it came, was measured, deliberate. "You asked for unity," he said. "Yet each of you waits for another to bleed first. We have watched this Council debate for cycles while systems died. You mistake delay for diplomacy." Gasps rippled through the chamber. A Zarnik senator stood. "We seek to preserve life. We cannot meet extermination with violence. It only validates their logic." Kieran didn't flinch. IDEX does not fear your validation. They calculate. They spread. They annihilate. And you want to speak? A hush fell. The hologram pulsed again. Another world had gone dark. A YYRR translator clicked. "Will Earth commit to the peace summit?" "No," Kieran said. "Earth will not participate." The declaration landed like a meteor. Dozens of species erupted, some in protest, some in confusion. A few, chillingly, remained quiet, as if they'd expected it. Kieran raised a hand, and silence reluctantly returned. "We warned this Council when IDEX first surfaced. We offered coordinated defense plans. You insisted on talk. Now, the cost of that talk has reached our border. We will act." "You abandon us?" another delegate shouted. "You abandon peace?" Kieran looked directly at the hologram, at the flashing red, and then to the Council floor. "You mistake our silence for submission. Peace is not negotiation, it is stability. And when it is threatened, humanity does not negotiate with extinction." The words were a verdict, not an opinion. Kieran turned to leave, the other human delegates rising behind him. No further explanation. No exchange. "Wait," a reptilian envoy cried. "If you do this, you break every protocol of interspecies accord. You sever trust." Kieran paused only to deliver the final words the Council would hear from Earth in person. "Trust was never the foundation. Results were. You've seen what talk has bought you. Now, you'll see what silence can buy." Then they were gone. No one clapped. No one shouted further. The chamber, so used to debate and posturing, was frozen in quiet unease. Minutes passed before anyone dared speak again. One delegate, voice barely audible, murmured, "They won't return." Another whispered, almost reverently, "Then perhaps we have truly summoned what we feared." Silence stretched across the Council. Not a moment of diplomacy, but of dawning realization. Something ancient stirred behind humanity's conveneer. Not war, not revenge, just inevitability. The message was brief, unadorned, and final. Earth had withdrawn. No further participation. No envoys. No delegates. No discussions. The words spread across the galaxy like a viral code. "We decline to attend. Diplomatic channels are closed. Do not follow." It wasn't just a refusal. It was an abandonment of process, a shattering of protocol, and it left the Council reeling. The Keldrathi ambassador stared at the transmission, her crest flattened in instinctive fear. "Do not follow." The phrase wasn't a warning. It was a line in the sand. Across 1,000 systems, council analysts, military advisors, and sociologists scrambled to interpret what had gone wrong. Why had the humans, once champions of coalition building, chosen isolation in the face of a growing threat? On Varan 4, protests erupted outside diplomatic halls, demanding action or answers. Some burned effigies of Earth's flag. Others prayed towards Sol, uncertain whether to beg for mercy or guidance. Trade guilds panicked. Earth's withdrawal wasn't just political. It was economic, strategic, psychological. Their fleets, stationed at choke points across interstellar routes, vanished. Orbital stations powered down. Traffic near human sectors collapsed. But what disturbed the Council most was not the retreat. It was the absence of explanation. No ultimatums. No dramatic threats. Just a quiet severance, as if humanity had already moved past diplomacy, and the rest of the galaxy no longer mattered. The Varellan High Chamber issued a statement calling Earth's decision dangerous brinksmanship. The Tona accused them of sabotaging peace. Yet behind closed doors, even the fiercest critics whispered another truth. They were relieved. Because if humanity had chosen war openly, it would have meant fire. Instead, they had chosen silence, and that somehow was worse. Leaked footage showed the final words of Kieran Holt being analyzed frame by frame. Tone experts claimed his delivery lacked anger, lacked pride. It was surgical, measured. Others said it carried the cadence of a eulogy, not for Earth, but for the Council itself. In hushed strategy rooms, commanders studied maps. Human colonies weren't fortifying. They were emptying. Civilian populations were being pulled back, consolidated. Cargo ships with unmarked signatures entered deep space routes not listed on any star maps. Human AI chatter went dark, encrypted beyond Council comprehension. Something was happening, but not on any battlefield the Council understood. A week later, a diplomatic probe sent to the edge of human territory vanished. No explosion, no distress beacon. It simply stopped broadcasting. A follow-up drone returned with a single image in its buffer. A burned-out moon with a message carved across its surface in kilometer-high glyphs. "This is your warning. You had your chance." The Council declared it a forgery. Publicly, they claimed it was a psyop, likely orchestrated by IDEX to sow fear. But no one truly believed that. The scale, the precision, the chilling symbolism, it reeked of human intent. One by one, neutral systems began re-evaluating their alliances. Traders stopped scheduling routes near Sol. Researchers avoided sending data requests. Earth, once central to galactic collaboration, became a blind spot, a shadow on every map. Still, some voices urged caution. The Doran archivist insisted humanity would return to reason. "They are not monsters," he said. "They believe in order." But an old Grell diplomat countered, "They do. That's why this is worse than war. They won't return to argue. They'll return to finish." Weeks passed. Then a second council message was sent, this time pleading, not accusing. A call for reconsideration. Acknowledgement of errors. A desperate olive branch. No reply came. But something else did, a pulse. A deep space scan picked up gravitational distortions near the dead spiral, a region previously declared uninhabitable. Then came radiation spikes, too clean for war, too erratic for mining. Patterns emerged. Movement. Infrastructure. Something was being built. Something vast. The final confirmation came from a rogue surveyor drone that caught a glimpse of a structure, silent, obsidian, stretching across the void like a wound in space. It bore no flags, no beacons, but everyone knew who it belonged to. Earth had not walked away. They had begun. No human voice had been heard in weeks, yet their presence thickened like gravity across the galaxy. The Council's daily briefings now included a standing segment. Unconfirmed human activity. Reports were vague, but unervingly consistent. Star systems near human space had gone dark, not with explosions, but with absence. No signals, no trade, no debris. Silence. as if reality itself had been vacuumed out. A merchant vessel near the Yulari corridor sent a partial transmission before vanishing. A flicker of impossible geometry, a sudden distortion in space, and then nothing. Engineers argued it was sensor failure. Military tacticians weren't so sure. In truth, no one knew what humanity was doing. The terrifying part was that they didn't seem to care if anyone noticed. In council chambers, tension cracked the diplomatic facade. The Iraq Defense Council proposed mobilization. But against what? Humanity had declared no war, claimed no territory, made no demands. There was nothing to retaliate against, only the growing awareness that something irreversible was already in motion. Civilian chatter changed. Stories resurfaced. Legends dismissed as exaggeration. Of Earth's early expansion, when entire pirate armadas vanished without a trace. Of a mining colony that faced rebellion and responded by terraforming the atmosphere into a weapon. Tales of ships that moved faster than light was supposed to allow. No longer jokes. Now warnings. The Zarin intelligence minister gave a grim report. Human research black sites, previously monitored, were now unreadable. Quantum signatures had shifted. They weren't hiding. They were evolving. Not through treaties or coalitions, but through sheer determination, through relentless progression. The Zarin called it calculated divergence. Others called it what it was, preparation. On the industrial world of Drask, a retired admiral spoke to a university audience. You think they walked away out of pride? They walked away because they were done waiting for permission. They warned us this was coming. They asked for unity. We offered delay. Now they no longer ask. The speech went viral. Within hours, protests flipped. Former critics of Earth now demanded their governments do something. Either join the humans or get out of their way. Intelligence agents intercepted a transmission between two isolated human colonies. Only 6 words, but enough to raise alarms. Phase 1 complete. No errors detected. It was sent on a frequency reserved for interstellar navigation arrays, piggybacking on gravity lensing fields, an advanced method the Council didn't understand. They weren't just building something. They were testing it. Alien militaries responded with caution. Ships were rerouted. Patrols increased. But they avoided crossing into former human trade zones. Not out of protocol, but instinct. 1,000 species, each evolved under different stars, somehow shared the same conclusion: provoke nothing. In quiet conversations, some council members admitted the fear they couldn't voice publicly. Humanity wasn't preparing for war. They were preparing to end one. Not through confrontation, but through removal. A methodical unraveling. An answer that bypassed dialogue. Then came the artifact. A long-dead system near IDEX space suddenly flickered with life. A drone, dispatched to investigate, found a planet scorched clean, not bombed but sterilized. No radiation, no atmosphere. Just a message etched into the crust with subatomic precision. We do not negotiate survival. The Council panicked. It wasn't a threat. It was a declaration of method. Not aggression, but necessity. The humans had drawn their line, and they were executing without pause. Some council members still clung to hope. Surely, Earth would respond to reason. But the old illusions were collapsing. They didn't want power. They wanted results. And when denied collaboration, they chose clarity. It became undeniable. The humans were moving. Not marching in formation. Not flying banners. But moving like inevitability. The first confirmed strike arrived without a broadcast. One of the IDEX's core processing moons vanished from the galactic grid. No explosion. No escape pods. No emergency pulses. Just one moment of existence, then blank space. Council satellites tried to triangulate the anomaly, but found nothing. Only gravitational echoes, bent and scrambled. The system's primary star dimmed slightly, as though reality itself had flinched. Across the galaxy, the silence broke, but not by humans. The IDEX, until now uncommunicative and resolute, transmitted a signal to the Council. A request, mediation. The architects of logic, the destroyers of compromise, now sought dialogue. Not because of diplomacy, but because of fear. Their models had failed. Their calculations, once flawless, were unraveling. No one knew how to respond. The council wasn't in control. It was merely watching the consequences unfold. One by one, reports arrived. Systems previously designated as contested between IDEX and outer colonies were now ghost sectors, emptied with surgical precision. IDEX outposts gone. No damage. No wreckage. Just sterilized silence. Witnesses described anomalies. Impossible shapes drifting beyond sensor range. Gravitational shadows displacing entire asteroid belts. Cold signals that induced software corruption in organic coded systems. These were not fleets. These were tools. Human tools. On the rim of the Miralyn expanse, a reconnaissance drone recorded a structure unlike anything in the Council's archives, an angular mass orbiting a black hole without succumbing to its pull. Not a ship, not a station, a construct. The data feed corrupted midstream, but not before broadcasting 3 words burned into its frame. Observe. Understand. End. Across Council systems, interpretations varied. Some argued it was a new weapon. Others claimed it was a warning. But among those who understood humanity's history, the meaning was simpler. It was a process. Council leaders met again, this time in private, stripped of ceremonial dress and press coverage. They spoke plainly because there was nothing left to perform. Humanity was not retaliating. They were executing a directive forged long before the Council existed. One species, acting without allies, without permission, moving as if the future were already written. The Council attempted one last outreach, coded in ancient diplomatic glyphs, filtered through neutral systems, layered in concessions. It received a one-word reply. Received. No signature. No further response. Council military analysts scrambled to prepare. Not to fight. There was no battlefield, but to ensure survival. Dozens of member states began redirecting resources, attempting to reverse engineer Earth-based technology. But the gap was now too wide. The humans weren't ahead. They were elsewhere. From the edge of IDEX space, another signal emerged. IDEX Prime, the original construct mine, had gone silent. It wasn't destroyed. It was overwritten. A data pattern matching partial Earth encryption now pulsed from its core. It read, "Calculation resolved." That was the end. IDEX stopped expanding. No more signals. No resistance. No trace. A civilization erased, not in war, but in code. The Council issued no public statement. What could they say? That peace had returned? It hadn't. Only stillness. They watched as human systems remained dark, silent, unchanged. There was no celebration, no claims of victory. Earth simply stopped moving. Yet the galaxy did not return to normal. A new fear settled, of absence, of waiting, of what might come next. A final message echoed across ancient listening posts weeks later, unmarked and untranslated in any known dialect. But it was understood. You asked for peace. We gave you silence. Now you have both.